John Paul Mendocha, Next Speed Selling, and welcoming you to the Raging Verbalist number 270. Hard to believe that we're at 270. Glad that you're here. We are on YouTube and, of course, our Facebook group, which is Position to Win Book. Position to Win Book. Check us out every week. Don't veer much into politics, but come up with things that I want to rant and rave and talk about and really help you out in your business world, maybe in your personal life. So, with me to help do that is the ever lovely Sandra. Sandra will be posing the questions that you would be asking if you were sitting there, but you're not. Sandra is. Welcome, Sandra.
Hello, how are you doing?
Doing well. It's been a wild and raucous week. So, what are we talking about this week?
All right, so this is the 5-year anniversary of the book. So happy anniversary.
Yeah.
So,
So what is anyway? We didn't even look it up. So, what is the fifth anniversary? I mean, I know that 25th is silver, the 50th is gold, and all of that. But 5 year, I don't know. Maybe it's
yeah, I don't
yeah.
know.
Maybe it's a cardboard cutout of somebody. So anyway, okay.
There you go.
So we're talking about the book.
Yes. So what lesson did you learn about launching the book 5 years ago?
It took me 30 years, and my co-conspirator, business partner, co-author, Gabe Batista, to actually get a book done. And wow, what an effort it was to do it, because we wanted to write it like a real book. To me, a real book is a book that has like words and not just a few things on the page and looks like something somebody threw together. So picked the date to launch this thing, kept pushing it back a little bit, didn't want to launch it too late in the year, which we could have the previous year. But of course, you don't want to fight the fat man. And we weren't early enough to take advantage of the Christmas stuff. So we launched it on March 17th. March 17th is St. Patrick's Day. My third name is, so I'm John Paul Patrick Mendocha. And most people didn't know it. So I thought that would be really clever and be really smart. However, 5 years ago, the world went kaboom and the pandemic hit, and it meant that every media avenue that we thought we were going to get into was like nah. And then talking to people about how their business, what was going to happen, people are like, yeah, what's going to happen is the business is going down the tubes. So what I learned is it's really painful. It's hard to predict when something as crazy as the pandemic will happen. However, we got it out there and we put out the effort and we did what we did. So here we are 5 years down the road, which is kind of an amazing mindset shift to have to do.
And was it worth all of this effort to write the book?
It is, or it was, and still remains in the is part, worth all the effort because, again, people had told me for years and years, you ought to write a book. I had lots of stories. I told lots of stories from the stage. I did lots of that type of thing. And I really wanted to have something with more permanence because there's a lot of dust in the wind, if you will, and decided that this was really the case. And I'd started several other books, still have them quasi finished, but this one was we're going to get it done. Doesn't matter how hard. And we really worked almost a year on it. And it wasn't just me, it was Gabe. We had my wife was the editor. We had Lynn. I have to do a shout out for Lynn, was our, layout person, but also somewhat of an inspiration. She would sit there and painstakingly do it. So yes, it was well worth the effort. And I would say to anybody who's out there, if you think you have a book in yourself, then you ought to try to get it out. But you have to grit your teeth and push yourself through those times when you're going, oh God, are we working on the book again? Because every day you're working on the book.
And who should read the book given today's business climate?
The book is very relevant today because most businesses fail in the first 5 minutes is the first title. And the reason why we say that is that most of the time, if you go and look at businesses that are launched, they don't make it. I mean, it's, some people say it's 60%, some people say it's 80%. In a lot of ways, it's probably over 90% of all businesses don't truly make it and are able to sustain themselves. Now, takes them 3 to 5 years to realize it because they get started off on the wrong foot. They're on the wrong road, the wrong path. They're going to the wrong destination. And that's because the reality is if you're not positioning yourself the right way, if you don't have a position, if you're just sitting there going, I'll do whatever it takes to make some money, that's not really sustainable for most people. And it just takes them years to realize it. And that's why we call it position to win. So if you want to do anything in life, you have to position whatever it is you're trying to do to win. And it happens before everything else, all the other things that are fun and cool to do. And it is not easy. It's tough. And in fact, sometimes you think you have a position, but you really don't, or you end up with a position that you don't like. That happens a bunch of times where people say, yeah, I really didn't like that. That's very common, like with artists and you know, creative types, but it also is true of just about anybody else. So it is as relevant today as it has ever been.
Why do you think the, excuse me, all choked up. Why do you think the message is still relevant?
In this super crowded world where everybody is doing something and all kinds of gigs are happening and all kinds of services are being offered, and we have the internet that's already there, now we have AI coming about. It's relevant because everybody loves to do branding, and I want to do branding. So how do I come up with cool branding, and how do I come up with really great colors and a logo and t-shirts and water bottles and all of those things? Now those are fine. However, it all rests on something, and it rests on this thing called positioning. And positioning is so important because I wouldn't be here today if I didn't stumble upon or find, because I was reading the Wall Street Journal, the book Positioning the Battle for Your Mind. Shout out to Al Reeves and Jack Trout. Never met either one of them, but the book changed my life in a very significant way. And the book that we wrote is really, I believe, a more of a follow-on, and also helps you understand it in a more practical term for everyday businesses, because the examples that they picked were big businesses. They were gigantic businesses that really were not going to, be relevant to most people. So that is a big part of it. So it is very relevant. And in fact, you can go out and pick up the book. So fifth anniversary, we don't have a fifth anniversary edition. Maybe you ought to, do something with that. But all I can tell you is that if you want to make sure that you don't become a casualty, that you don't fall on the side of the road, that you don't get trashed out there, is that you want to go out and pick up this book, because people will tell me all the time, I've got this really great idea. I'm very clever. I'm very smart. I'm very whatever. And what they miss out is that they have not really picked out a position, or if they've picked out a position, they're not going to be successful. They're not going to be capable of doing it. So if you go check this book out at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, wherever books are sold, you can go get a physical copy. You can also go to Position to Win Books, not books, Position to Win Book.com, Position to Win Book.com. Go there, pick it up, and I'll actually sign it, and I'll just say, hey, fifth anniversary, and I'll do something special for you if you do it off of the fifth anniversary. Also, you can pick it up digitally with Kindle, Nook, Apple iBooks, all of those. And the point of it is that positioning yourself is so important. It's so loud out there. There's so much noise. There's so much chatter. There's so many other things. It's not even funny. And to that end, if you don't pay heed to that, you will be one of the many that gets trashed and crashed and burned. Also, if you want to figure out how to do remote work for a better world, which we wrote because we finished the book, and we were ready to launch our book. And then this pandemic thing happened. And then in 17 days, we wrote Remote Work for a Better World. If people had paid heed for that, maybe Jamie Dimon would not be sitting there telling everybody that remote work doesn't work. It does if it's done properly and done right. There you go. Also, you can go pick up the Raging Verbalist mug. Get a little bit of Raging Verbalist mug and chutzpah every single day by putting a little bit of yourself in there. All right, Sandra, where do we go from here?
All right. So, did it live up to your expectations by becoming an author?
It's one of those things that you hear about, and I had promoted several books for clients. I had helped ghostwrite some things for clients, and I became bound and determined that every day that I would talk to people, I would bring up, like I was sitting in the dentist chair yesterday, talking to the dentist and telling them about my book. And it changes some things. So in a lot of ways, did it live up to expectations? Yes, because this is a level of permanence that you can't fake. That's why I always say to people, even if they have a digital book, get some real copies printed, because you know what? Nobody can deny it. It's like you can't get rid of the body. They always find the evidence, even if you put it in the dumpster or something, but they'll find it. So yes, it has done that, and more so. And even though there's 150 million books that have been printed since the beginning of time, but if you look at how many billions of people have been alive, well, it means that there's a lot fewer authors. Also, if you're writing the AI style, all I'm going to tell you is make sure that the book is really authentic in you, because if it's not, people will see through it and they'll go, well, that's bullshit. So mine's a real book, and hopefully you check it out.
And in this super concentrated world, what is the singular idea that affects everyone?
As I talk to various generations, and I've talked to Gen Zers, and I've talked to Gen Xers, and millennials, and baby boomers, and tweeners, and tweakers, and I don't, yeah, you got to try to figure out how many there different are. But the reality is that when I hear people tell me their sad tale of woe, boo hoo, things aren't going well, usually they are positioned terribly. They're not really well positioned at all. When I hear somebody say, "Well, I went out and got my MBA, and then, well, the world didn't beat a path to my door." Well, whoever said that, and it was a very famous guy who said, and I'll leave him out, but whoever said that didn't understand that you have to go out there and be in the marketplace, and therefore you get positioned as such. And the reason why this idea of positioning is easy to grasp but hard to do, and even harder to live with, is that whatever that position that you have and whatever capability that you possess, people will respond to you based upon what that is. You go to the dentist, you think of them as a dentist. You go to somebody who's a tax accountant, well, they know something about taxes. In my case, since I know about sales, marketing, advertising, promotion, people think that that's all I know. The fact that I'm on two patents that have to do with not selling or marketing or advertising promotion, that means that I'm not really positioned as such. I have other people who are on the patent with me who are all involved in designing and inventing this. But the reality is that you have the position you have, but you need to know what it is and build it out and fortify it and make it defendable and continue to reinforce what that is. This is why when we look out there in the world and we see the Joe Rogans of the world, Joe Rogan built a position one podcast at a time, and his personality was always there, but he reinforces it. And when somebody asks me, who are a client, says, well, I'd like to have one of them there things, does it fit with the positioning you have? And is it congruent to the values that you share and you project to the market? And if it's not, well, it's not going to be a good few times. So yes, that is the most important thing. And you're in charge of your own positioning from the personal level all the way through whatever you're going to do in life.
And will AI make the book irrelevant?
I think it makes the stronger case that positioning is more important than ever, because the AI world is a tool. It's a massive amount of leverage. However, it doesn't build out a position. See, if you say something, I'm the bestest, by the way, that's bad English. I'm the bestest and goodest and smartest and strongest and da, da, da. You can say all of that. You can get AI to spit out and tell you whatever you want to hear. I mean, it's like the ultimate ego stroker. Maybe we should have ego stroker.ai or something. Go in there and it'll just tell you how wonderful you are. None of that means a damn thing, and it turns out to be total bullshit if you are not authentically that person. If you walk around telling everybody you're a surgeon and they say, well, okay, I need you to go cut something out, maybe it's not going to turn out so well. So to me, AI will not make it irrelevant. In fact, it makes it even more important. And also, it will explode the number of pretenders out there. And my belief is that the pretenders will, in fact, muddy the waters or pollute the atmosphere or do whatever it is. But positioning in the end authentic, true, and real will win out in the end.
And how can entrepreneurs, marketers, and sales professionals apply these lessons to gain an advantage?
Well, the first thing I would say is that we want to get to an unfair advantage. We want an advantage that our competitors cannot do. This goes back to Rosser Reeves' unique selling proposition, which many poo-poo as being passe. It is not. What your competitors will or will not do or can't do is pure gold for what you need to do. And the point of it is very simple. If in fact you're going to be successful in the market, stake out what your position is, write it down, and then test it rigorously and continuously do that. If you do that, now it doesn't mean you're stuck there. I mean, I've pivoted several times in my life to get to a better spot. But the first thing you have to do is you have to have a place to start. And that's the most important aspect of it. And starting out with the right type of positioning and the right type of mindset to make sure that you express exactly who you are and what you can do. This is why one size does not fit all. This is why when people say to me, John, I can't sound like you. And my statement is, you don't need to sound like me to be better and more successful. You need to sound more like yourself. However, you need to be able to apply the right tools and techniques and tactics and roll it into a strategy because positioning is melded into every single one of those steps. It's been a wild 5 years. I want to thank Sandra for hanging in here for this period of time. We've had some ups and downs, but we're still here. And for all of you for spending some time with us. So I'm John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Speed Selling. And for myself and the ever lovely Sandra, this has been the Raging Verbalist, number 270. Have a great one. Position yourself right. Win in the world. Win in the market. Tell us what you're doing. And we'd love to share in your successes and reduce those who might be failing. Do that, and you will absolutely position yourself as a winner. And until the next time, have a great